Welkom in de Voorkamer, waar u hoort wat er in de achterkamertjes wordt bekokstoofd. We gaan praten over de nieuwe wereld en het politiek ecosysteem. In de geest van Willem Oltmans laten we die mensen aan het woord die van het establishment niet gehoord mogen worden. Vandaag gaan we praten met Ossi Tiihonen. Good to have this interview, Ossi. Hopefully I pronounce your name correctly.
Oh, it's quite close.
Okay. So in full, your whole name, how would I pronounce it?
It's Ossi Tiihonen.
Yeah, that's good. So now we know. Well, good to have this interview. 2 weeks ago, we spoke to Ilka Novikov, co-founder of the opposition party VKK, and he explained the rise and demise of this new party. He also explained that politics in Finland, as he called it is basically dead. So I'm very curious to talk to you about your new party and the situation in Finnish politics. I will first introduce myself to your audience, to the Finnish audience, and then I would like you to introduce yourself to the Dutch audience. So my name is Maurits Falkenreck. I'm the founding father of the Parallel Society in the Netherlands, and I have not only built it, but also written books about it. And further, I'm the founder of the political ecosystem model, which makes the dynamics of our society and the politics involved transparent. So please tell us more about your background, and then when we have a picture of who you are, I have some questions for you to understand what you're doing and how Finland is developing in terms of politics.
Okay, thank you. I'm 56 years old, and I have a long career in the telemedicine business. I founded several companies and sold them a few years ago. And last 4.5 years, I've been a civic activist, trying to influence in some sort of way into the Finnish politics, because I saw already about 5 years ago where this is going. And I was a member of the nowadays second largest party of Finland. I was also the candidate for the chairman of this party, because I saw the urgent need to change the politics in this rather big party. But when I challenged the recent leadership in this party, they sidelined me, and they didn't leave any room for me to participate any elections since that. And they tried to get me kick myself out there, and they succeeded. And so 1.5 years ago, I told that I cannot be part of this party anymore. And then I went to the VKK for a short period, but it was a total mess. And most of the local leaders in this party, they started to ask me that I have to correct this new VKK party, but I said that I have no means there, because I was not this member of the party. There was just a few actual members in this party, and others were only supporters. So I had no any chance there to do anything. So I had to told to the other local people that I have no means. So then they started to ask me that I have to build a new party. So they took a couple of weeks for me to understand that they wanted me to lead this new party, and when I realized that okay, this is probably the right decision. So everything happened very fast. In 6 days, we put together a new party, and this was our first elections a couple months ago, and we got 27,000 people to vote us. The party is just a year old, and we still have a local members of the local councils, about 20 people that are members of the city councils, etc. So we are in a good situation, I would say, but
Yeah.
of course we couldn't get any uh, parliament members, so that was a bit disappointment, of course. But the situation in Finnish politics, it's in the way that there is no real opposition in the parliament. So I think this was one of the questions you wanted to ask. So
Yeah.
I just go on there. So there is no real opposition in the parliament. So because the mainstream media in Finland, there is a media pool. It's like Soviet era ghost media system. They decide what is publicized, what is not, and what is the opinion into the things in hand. So it's strange to think that in the Western media this is the reality, but it is that is the truth, and it's also the government media and private alike. So they don't give any visibility to small parties or new parties like we are. So we had to do everything in the social media. So we did what we could in a year, but we couldn't get any parliament members. So in the parliament there is no real opposition. So it's the same. You have to uh, do what the globalist elite says in the parliament. You have to believe the climate hoax and corona hoax, etc. You have to obey what the EU says. And now the recent thing is, of course, this NATO thing. Uh, the MPs they're like sheep in the parliament. If the party leader says that this is your opinion, they will take it, and
Yeah.
they don't have any own opinions there. So,
Yeah.
but this is a long time effort. We will stay in the politics for few years, and we will see what's going to happen.
How did it evolve to this point that they're all puppets of the World Economic Forum?
It's a psyops, not physiology. Um, it's a mental operation.
Yeah.
It's taken tens of years. I think 30 years. Old school politicians are little by little kicked out, and these new World Economic Forum puppets are taken into the parliament, and they will just do what their globalist leaders tell them to do. And
So in Finland, this
many,
is going on for decades. So that they're slowly replacing the old established politicians for people that are easily to basically tell them what to do in line with supranational agendas.
yes, exactly. I think in the World Economic Forum, they seek persons that they can control, that are probably some sort of how should I say, handicapped in the mental sense that they can control or they can blackmail them. I think it's a slippery slope. They take you in longer and longer, and the pace is going faster and faster, and you cannot get out. I think that's the what happens there.
And when did Finland have real opposition, if it ever? Well, you say the last 30 years they have been trying to take over government, but at any point was there real opposition in Finland?
Well, I think so. That there was about 20 years ago, there was some sort of opposition, and even 10 years ago, you could see in the national television system, you could see some critical TV shows. But I think the events have gone faster and faster during the last 5 years. And I think there was a rather good government 5 years ago. But then this Sanna Marin government is a total disaster. Um, no freedoms left anymore. But we know that in Finland the situation is not that bad as in Canada or Australia or Austria or in some other countries. France, for example, I think there's now new law that forbids using airplanes if there's a 2.5 hour train travel available. This is
Yeah.
going quite fast.
Yeah. And who asked you to set up an opposition party? Old members of VKK?
Yes, well, they realized me too that this Ano Turtiainen is not a good leader, and he wanted to keep all power in his own hands, and it just doesn't work that way.
Is this party leader the one who started to talk about flat Earth?
Yes,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that too.
And
So
that resulted in the last elections them having only 8,000 votes compared to you as a new party, 27,000. So they were completely annihilated.
yeah, well, yeah, he didn't start talking about flat Earth before the elections, just after that.
Okay, after. Okay, so
After
that didn't even do it. Yeah.
Yes, but the problem was that they did lots of other mistakes. For example, they didn't have the um, um, party government meetings, and it was a total mess. And most of the people realized this, and they came to talk to me and other in our new party, and they moved into our party mostly.
Okay,
We
so
got
due to a poor organization, bad
yes.
organizing, they lost their their voter base.
Yes. So it's there was quite a lot of idea in the VKK, but the problem is that the leader of the party didn't handle how to do this. So they started to argue themselves there. So people just slipped out, and that's the biggest. There was a possibility, but they missed it totally.
Yeah. And in how much time they were able to rise and then fall? So
Well,
how many seats did they have in their prime? How many votes?
Well, it's just the one seat in the parliament, and Ano Turtiainen was elected in the True Finns party when he was there, and he skipped. He formed an own party, and in the next elections, just 2 months ago, he dropped out from the parliament. So he got very little votes there, and the old party, the True Finns party, is now negotiating the to become part of the government, but I'm rather skeptic because all the other parties are even more controlled by the globalist elite than this party. I think True Finns is also controlled by the WEF. So I think there is not much hope in the government, but I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. And when did VKK get into parliament with one seat? When was that?
Well, it was not elected party. Ano Turtiainen he jumped from the other party, or actually he was kicked out from the True Finns party, and then he formed a new party. But it didn't succeed. But it didn't succeed in these elections.
Yeah. So he never was able to actually get elected as a new party.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, so that's basically up to you right now. If you pull it off, you would be the first real opposition party that, by his own doing, is elected then in parliament.
Yeah, but it's 4 months to the next elections if nothing very unusual happens. That is of course possible that there will be a new elections, but it's very rare in Finland. Usually they take this 4 years and they just negotiate a new government from the old basis of parliament. So I think it's not very. I think it takes 4 years for the next elections. But then there are other elections like the Euro Parliament elections in the next year. So we will try to do our best there. But well, the problem I think that the biggest thing, like Matthias Desmet tells, is that you have to have some sort of opposition. So we try to do this outside from the parliament, and I know that the many party in the parliament, they follow us what we say because they fear that people will vote us. But the mainstream media is against us, so they will not give us any visibility. So we try to get this, but the enemy is strong.
Yeah. Do you have a good platform to spread your message in Finland?
I think it's Twitter only. Twitter is rather open and at the moment, but for example, Facebook is very censored. They reduce our visibility a lot. So we have some social media coverage because there are quite so many people of us who has lots of followers, tens of thousands of people. I can predict that we get at least 100,000 or 200,000 people that we reach, but not in the mainstream media.
No, that's clear. And do you believe if you get elected, you can actually make an impact in politics?
I'm rather skeptical because people are so brainwashed. But we have to try because I have children, and I hope that there will be a future generations also. So we have to try this also the politics. We have to try everything. I'm not going to give up, and I will try everything. And the politics is my expertise or area that I have chosen. Other might want to have some demonstrations, etc. And I have participated them too in the streets. But I think the best way is try to convince the recent politicians that they might be in the wrong track because not all of them are corrupted. There are still some honest politicians in Finland, and I think some of them have already figured out that this is not right. What is happening? It's some sort of techno fascism which is rising.
Yeah, the merger of the corporates and big politics.
Yes.
Big corporate, big politics merging. And the ones who are still not corrupted, are they exposing the illegitimate element of political policies and laws?
Usually not. They stay quiet because they are afraid of what their party leaders say. So that is a big problem. So we try to encourage them to take some things into account and open their mouth. There are a few critical thinkers in the parliament, but usually they are afraid of their leaders in the party.
So basically, what I understood is that Finland has a strong constitutional law, but clearly politicians are not exposing the illegitimacy of policies and new laws.
Yeah. Yes. The constitution is strong, but it's just a paper. If you don't follow the constitution, if you don't obey the constitution as a politician or judge, then it's just a paper. They go over it almost every month. So lots of well, citizens have taken these suppressing measures into different kind of courts, and there has been some good judgments there, but most of them they are in the same side as the politicians. For example, about 2 years ago, I made a complaint to the European Criminal Court with four other persons who too were solicitors. So, but they didn't even read it. I think there was just it was 17 pages long English complaint, and European Criminal Court just kicked it out and said that there's nothing here. But and same kind of complaint has gone from Norway, Israel, and I think Slovenia. So there should be at least 4 countries that have made same kind of complaint, and Europe, the International Criminal Court has taken any of them into account.
So with respect to the Finnish constitutional law, you're basically saying it's not being respected for a long time now.
No, yes, yeah. Yes, they have just told that, for example, that the European Union laws go over the Finnish constitution, or they just adapt their statements in a way that they can claim that it doesn't break the constitution, but it's totally obvious that it's broken.
Yeah. So they're all puppets obeying supranational policies.
Yes.
Their party leader tells them to vote correctly.
Yes. For example, at the moment there is this pandemic treaty which is in the WHO at the moment. So there is a minister of the social and healthcare in Finland who has who made this, Krista Kiuru, who made this stupid things during the last 3 years. She's now there to negotiate in the Finnish side. So you can expect anything there.
Well, the pandemic treaty, because, well, basically Finland and the Netherlands are very much alike. Both are front runners regarding the agenda of CBDC, for example.
Yes.
Yesterday, in my country, the pandemic law has been passed, so the pandemic treaty. And if I listen to you correctly, in Finland, they're now busy to get a similar law, a pandemic treaty, where government can decide what to do regardless of any regardless of any respect towards the individual sovereignty of the citizenry. They can just decide to close the country, to tell people to stay home, to wear face masks, all those things. That's now,
Yes.
they're now trying to pass that law in Finland.
Yes, they try this, but at the moment there is no politically effective government in Finland, so it shouldn't be allowed to go through.
Okay,
But
so there's no basis right now.
no, but they don't care about the constitution. They just
Yeah.
said, okay, we have accepted this pandemic treaty, and you have to obey. So I try to tell people every time here that you have to stop obeying those laws. But most Finns doesn't even know about anything about the pandemic treaty, and even the
Okay.
politicians are totally uh, uh, unaware of this pandemic treaty.
But they're now trying to vote for a pandemic treaty in parliament. That's what they're trying
No,
to do.
not yet, not yet. They are negotiating this in the WHO, but they will. I think they will take this into parliament in a few months.
Okay, and if they take this into parliament, are there, because there's no real opposition, that means that all the parties involved will vote for the pandemic treaty.
Yeah, quite likely.
Yeah. And when would that happen in terms of a time frame? When do you think?
I think it's August or September, something like this.
Okay, so then you will be half a year later than the Netherlands in adopting this pandemic treaty.
Yes.
Again, there's so many similarities. That's why it's interesting for my audience here to see what's happening in Finland, so people start to understand that this is not accidental. You know, these new moves by the government, these new agendas. That these agendas are basically deployed everywhere in Europe.
Exactly. Yes.
And
All
it's,
countries.
again, it's very similar. And also how opposition is developing is also very similar. In the Netherlands, real opposition, well, we have one party that's real opposition, which is Forum for Democracy, but they are now insignificant in terms of seats. So they are not able to push back on new policies and new laws. They're not able to do so. They're able to create awareness for it, but they're not able to stop it. And in that sense, do you see change coming via the political arena? You already mentioned you are cynical, but you said we have to try, we have to have a position in parliament some way or another. Do you have any other ideas of breaking this spell we're in?
Well, during the last 3 years, I think the opposition in the streets was the biggest when the suppression was biggest. So I think things are too well right now in Finland. It's a summer and sun is shining, and
Yeah.
there is not much suppressions things going on. So things are too well. So it's what happens in the next winter? That's the question, and there is also a bigger question: what happens with the Ukraine? In Finland is now part of the NATO, and most Finns have they are in the war psychosis or Russian psychosis, and there could be some sort of provocation from Finland to Russia. And then we have another front plus to the Ukraine. And the problem is that Finnish army is very strong, and people are being pushed to the war psychosis. So this is even more dangerous in Finland right now. So it doesn't look good, but usually Finns realize what's happening in the last possible moment. So there's still hope.
Yeah. But like you said, the media is not bringing the story how it is. They're basically propagating the narrative of the mainstream political parties.
Yes.
And that's a problem, especially when people choose to look away, like now, what you just referred to. The sun is shining, people are happy, and they choose to focus on other things than the challenges ahead.
Yes.
And in that sense, what's your goal with your political party?
Well, we are Freedom Alliance. We try to keep as much individual freedom as possible, and also for in the national level that Finland has, for example, a freedom to make its own choices. But this is going to the opposite directions. The EU is going to the wrong direction, and now in Finnish military is quite soon or already now governed by the Americans. So this is very dangerous situation. But we try to get Finns to understand that we have to take the power back to the people here in this country.
Yeah, and you think you will be able to do this by having a position in parliament, so you are visible. That
I'm skeptical, but we have to try. We have to try.
Yeah.
It's the next generation is dying in a war or with the vaccines or whatever. So we who realize what is happening, we have to try because we have some sort of meaning life when we try to do what is right. So
Do you think when you're in parliament, mainstream media will give you, well, some form of attention?
yes, they have already done this, and in the previous years um, they have written a false stories of me. For example, one of the big magazine papers in Finland, they wrote 6 pages of me in their paper, and it was almost totally false.
Yeah.
But in these elections that they didn't say anything, not even they didn't even lie of us. They just didn't say anything.
But this is so similar to the Netherlands, because in the Netherlands, a couple of years ago, what they would do regarding opposition, especially the Forum for Democracy, they would actually start a smear campaign, completely ruin their image by mainly using false stories about the party leader or the party at large. And the last elections, they decided to completely ignore them. So they were not invited in any talk show, mainstream talk show. They were not discussed in any mainstream format, news format, nothing. So again, very similar to the Netherlands, what they're doing to you right now. Initially, they started to, basically ruin your image or try to ruin your image. And now they completely ignore you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they did, and they still do. And there is lots of smear phrases, for example, for me, and all other who might be some sort of opposition figure. They try to suppress them, and this is continuous effort. So, but I will not give up. If they try to smear, I just wake up in these kind of things.
No, but that's only positive that you are a fighter in that sense. You have a backbone. They did try to take you out physically. Yeah, I understood. They try to play with your health, or
Yeah, well, I've got lots of threats, and well, I've been once in the hospital. I think somebody put something in my drink in the restaurant, and but nothing could be found. But there was they didn't try to find any poisons, for example. But I think it was some sort of warning. But I'm not afraid of my life. If I had to die, I have some sort of meaning in this.
yeah. No, I totally understand you. I hear you. Just for us to close on a positive note, what are the main themes of your program, your political party program, that you will propagate, will promote during the European Parliament elections and the Finnish elections later on?
As our name of the party, Freedom Alliance, says, we want at large freedom as possible for Finns individually and for the country. And in the EU Parliament elections, we try to get rid of the whole EU. We want for example, some sort of voting for the whole country, because this is not that kind of EU where we Finns joined. It's not, for example, these bailout systems, etc. So uh, things are not going well, and we the normal people, we have to stand up to say it, and this is not right. We have to say that it's not right, and we have to change things. Well, these are the main things. For example, this climate scam, for example, that is the one part of the globalist elite agenda, and another one is EU, and NATO is one of them. And then there is a big scam in Finland for the pensions.
Yeah.
Usually you have to pay 25% extra for the pension funds, and that's 5 times more than in Switzerland. And
Yeah.
most people doesn't understand the thing at all. So, but I see light there. The more and more people get to know how things are, and when they see it, it's in social media in Finland. It's we are much bigger than in the elections. Our party and our things, way how we think in the way we are much bigger in social media, and it's we still have hope.
So your reach was 100,000 in social media?
Yeah, more than that. We have lots of social media entrepreneurs and figures that have a big reach in
Yeah.
our party. So at least 100,000, maybe 200,000 that we reach weekly.
Weekly. And are you also involved in building a parallel society in Finland?
And I'm not part of it. Ilkka has had some ideas of this, but I had to say that I'm not very hopeful with this, because in Finland, you have a strong uh, mm, let's say, government system, and they will not allow you to build a parallel society. For example, the value added tax systems, if you change the things, then you have to put value added tax for both of them, and then you are charged of the tax uh, uh, criminality. So I'm not very hopeful with this.
Yeah, so you think when they would actually build an alternative monetary system, an alternative energy system, an alternative communication system, alternative food and health system in some form, then you basically predict that the Finnish government will use the law to take it down. They will.
They try to shut it down, but in Finland, the officials and the politicians are well aware that we are a cold country, and for example, fireplaces you cannot ban them, and
No.
there's lots of people who grow their own food, and
Mm,
it's totally impossible to deny that.
yeah. So those things, of course, they've always been there. This will continue. But
Yeah,
what
yeah,
they,
it will continue, and you cannot ban them. People just don't um, do as they say.
so basically, you say when there's a critical mass, critical base, for example, a transaction system that's not owned by the government, then they will intervene. So things that will really hurt them.
Yes, well, the system of the Finland has always been a cold country, and
Yeah.
there's a big trust to the society. So it has crumbled during the last years, but still people trust each other. And so if you get potatoes, you can get meat and etc. There is this kind of things, lots of going, and
Okay,
nobody
they cannot stop that. That's the barter type of system. So
Yes,
those things,
you cannot control this.
no. And if, for example, they would start within this parallel society, if they would start with their own communication network, with their own smartphones, a closed system, own internet, all those things, just to really protect their privacy. Is that something that Finland would be able to pull off in a parallel society because it's very advanced in terms of technology? The people are very tech savvy.
Yes, it is possible, but I think the government would immediately intervene this kind of things.
Yeah.
So it has to be done in some very clever way. But if there is 20 people knowing about this, there is always some sort of
Yeah,
mole in the system.
exactly. Oh yeah. On that note, before we close, for me, very interesting. The how do you say that? The mentality in Finland. Are people more about not telling on each other, or is the mentality that they tell on each other in terms of ratting out people? What's the culture like?
I think there's two cultures. There's this, mainstream media culture. They just think that we are nuts,
Yeah, yeah,
and uh, and then there is another culture which is they understand what is happening, but they are still quiet. And but there is a big change, I think, in the below the radar, and many Finns watch very closely what happens in the States. If there is a Trump again as a president, I think that could change quite many things. For example, NATO. Trump has said that what is the purpose of NATO, and then we have joined into into wrong alliance, or we have put too much hopes for the NATO, and but Finland doesn't need NATO in any way. So we have a big and strong army, and NATO wants Finland to join because we could muster up 1 million man army. They want us to protect the Baltic countries.
Yeah. And you have a lot of vital, strong men. And what's happening in Ukraine right now, it's a meat grinder for
Yes.
destroying the vital men in Europe. As a side effect, they have less people to be fearful of in terms of a revolt in their own country.
Yes. Yes.
That's so. I'm also very cynical about why they're sending so many vital Western European men to the front to Russia, to the war with Russia. Yeah.
Yes. Well, as a history, my father was 3.5 years in the front during the Second World War, and my mother was there too, as in the front lines. So it's we have a history in my family that you have to defend your country, but we don't want to attack Russia. But of course,
Exactly.
we will defend.
Yeah.
But the problem is this war psychosis or Russian psychosis. So there might be some sort of provocation from Finland to Russia, but this is very stupid politics. There has been a almost 80 years very peaceful with the Russia, and we now create problems by ourselves, and this is not a good policy.
No, that's it. We are creating the problem. Yeah. The West is creating the problem.
Yes.
Of course, for a clear agenda. But I think we can talk about this another time.
Yes.
Ossi, I would really like to thank you. I'm very happy with the in-depth interview we had. Hopefully the audience as well. I'm very impressed by the fact that you are actually continuing the fight after already having had experience in being part of opposition parties. You're still going on with it. I think we need people like you in each country, and I really hope that you will succeed. And I will follow you. We will follow you in the Netherlands, and let's have an update in a couple of months to see where you are at, and then I will of course give feedback what's happening in the Netherlands, like I, for example, did with the pandemic law, so we can compare notes.
Okay, it was nice talking with you. We'll be in touch.
Okay, thanks again, Ossi.
Yes, thank you.
Oké, dank u wel voor het kijken en zoals ik altijd afsluit, laat uw verstand het werk doen.